Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what is up? It's Friday, and just as I was preparing for the weekend, Wargaming hit me with what was going to be a controlled leak of the Tier 10 double-barreled tank. So without further ado, this is the ST2. And one of the things that I'm happy about this is not the STII, right? Everybody knows about the Tier 9 Soviet heavy tank and how it's always been a great big debate about whether it was the STI or the ST1. Well, unless you want to keep calling this thing its bigger brother, the STII Captain, then I think we're going to be calling it the ST2. Anyway, I digress. I've got one of the most exciting things in World of Tanks history to talk about right now, and I'm going on about naming the vehicle. Look, whatever. This is the ST2. It's the Tier 10 double-barreled Soviet heavy tank that will be at the top of the tech tree. It's not going to be a reward vehicle by the looks of it, unless things, well, obviously, I need to add the caveat. Everything is subject to change. With this video, nothing is confirmed. All of the statistics that you see, while they're oddly specific, characteristics are not final, as you can clearly see at the bottom of your screen. So today, I'm going to be talking about the Tier 9 double-barreled vehicle, and then I'm going to be following it up with a look at the ST2. So literally, just as I was about to release this video, or shall I say, version 1 of what this video will become, I had it rendered, I had it uploaded. Wargaming released a developer diaries about double-barreled vehicles, which really fleshes out some of the questions that I had about them. So let's check it out together.
At this stage, we plan to add 4 vehicles to the game.
Okay, 4 vehicles.
One of them, the Object 703 version 2, was used as the test vehicle. After the successful test, it may be added to the game as a Tier 8 premium vehicle, just as players thought.
So that was the Object 703 version 2. That will be coming in theory, as a premium vehicle. So that means that we've got actually 3 tech tree tanks to look forward to. So here we go, Tier 8.
With the IS-2 version 2 heavy tank.
Wow, okay. IS-2 version 2 will be the first tank along the double-barrel tech tree.
You can guess from the name that it's an upgraded version of the famous IS.
An IS at Tier 8?
The transition will happen from the KV3.
Okay, it's confirmed. No matter how many times I have edited this video, I will probably miss out mentioning that I don't know if it's going to come from the IS-3, or if I don't even know if there's going to be a Tier 8 in the game. There's going to be a Tier 8. It's called the IS-2 version 2, and it will come from the KV3. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, go and uncheck accelerated crew training only in the KV3.
Because some components of this vehicle are better suited to this branch.
At Tier 8, we plan to test 2 top-tier gun options.
Okay. What
the first
are
one
they?
is the 100mm gun.
Ugh.
We want to focus not on damage per shot, but making the new mechanic more accommodating. The
Okay.
shot preparation time will be shorter, and the guns will be locked after the double shot for a shorter period as well.
A friendly tank.
With the 122mm gun, we want to focus primarily on the damage per shot, but the new mechanic will not be as adaptable.
The key
So there you're going to be
differences
locked
of the
out for
IS-2
longer.
version 2 from a normal IS will mainly be the damage per shot and penetration. The stats will be better because of the peculiarities of the double-barreled guns and being a higher tier.
Obviously.
Movement speed will be okay, a bit slower than its tier mates, but pretty comparable. The weak
Okay.
point of the vehicle is its hull armor.
Yeah,
It was
awful armor
inherited
for
from the
Tier 8.
7 vehicle.
Oh, that's
However,
awful.
The turret will be better armored.
Okay. So what we just learned about the Tier 8 is that it's going to have a weak hull, armor a little bit better, but still not great. It's going to be a weakly armored tank for Tier 8, so it's going to be like a kind of like a glass cannon kind of heavy, but it's not going to be fast as far as I can tell, at least if the statistics are going to be similar to the Tier 9 or the Tier 10. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's dig into the statistics of the IS-32. And obviously I've got to clarify, these are not final. Everything is subject to change. So the IS-32 packs what looks like 122mm main armament with 390 alpha damage, with the penetration on its gun being not a very impressive Tier 9 amount of 243. And its premium rounds, it looks like it's going to get APCR as standard, 292. By no means bad, but it is definitely going to struggle against Tier 10 tanks when most Tier 9 heavies are starting to pack about 310 to 340 millimeters of heat pen. The high explosive rounds, on the other hand, for this vehicle are a rather nice 68. And I can only imagine just going full HE in this vehicle and then doing double shots for over 1,000 against weakly armored tanks. So the reloading time for each gun is 10.7 seconds. So this suggests that if we do 60 divided by 10.7, and then we times this by 390, that the base damage per minute on this vehicle is going to be a rather impressive 2,186. That's pretty good for an auto-loading tank. Now, while I thoroughly recommend you watch my previous video on double-barreled tanks, just to get you up to speed, there are 3 different firing options. I'm going over this very quickly. One is you fire in a regular fashion. You fire the left barrel, it reloads. You fire the right barrel, it reloads. And then the tank pretty much just works as normal. Secondly, you can fire it in sequence. So you can fire one shot and then a second shot after a 3.5 second intra-clip reload. So that works just like a regular autoloader. If you want to play the IS-3 like that, it will work like an Italian medium tank, or alternatively work like the IS-3A, where you can either choose to reload the 10.7 seconds to be able to maintain your damage per minute, or fire with a 3.5 second delay after the first shot, but then you're going to lose all the progress on the reload with an empty magazine. But by far the most exciting option with the double-barreled tanks is to be able to fire what Wargaming are calling a single shot. It's a bit confusing. I'm going to be calling it a double shot, as these are double-barreled tanks. And to be able to do that, you have to charge up both barrels and then you get to fire. This is the kind of balancing mechanic, and we can see that the statistic for the preparation time for a single shot or a double shot, whatever you want to be calling it, will be 3 seconds in this tank. So you literally have to hold down your mouse button for 3 seconds to be able to unleash the fury of 2 122mm guns. The problem is, however, if you want to play like this, then your gun reloading time will freeze afterwards for 7 seconds. That's a substantial amount of time. That's almost the time that it would have taken to have a whole full reload. And so you've got to be very careful. If you want to fire a double shot from the second, from pressing down your mouse button and holding it to be able to deliver it, you're going to have to wait 20 seconds before you're going to be able to have another shell inside the tank to fire. It's a very long time for 390 alpha damage. So moving on to the other statistics of this tank, the dispersion at 100 meters, aka the tank's accuracy, is 0.4. Not very good. The aim time is 3 seconds. Again, not very good. The turret traverse, 22 seconds. Yeah, not great, but by no means terrible. The depression on this tank, however, 8 degrees, is phenomenal for a Soviet tank, giving the IS-3-2 a huge advantage over some standard Soviet tanks at Tier 8 and Tier 9, where they only have 5 or 6 degrees of gun depression. That should make this tank very flexible on a ridgeline. Also, this thing carries 74 pieces of ammunition. That's a tremendously large amount. I wonder if this is a typo, because that means that the vehicle is going to have a potential damage of nearly 30,000, enough to kill the enemy team multiple times over, but we'll have to wait and see whether that's the case. So mobility-wise, this vehicle is able to go at 38 kilometers an hour forwards and 15 backwards. That's actually a very impressive reverse speed that's going to be able to stop a lot of your opponents from being able to get your side very easily. And when you combine this with a horsepower of 750 tons, then you do get a specific power of 12.5. Again, not great, not terrible. And the whole traverse speed is 28 degrees a second. We're just going to have to wait to see how the ground resistance of this tank hold up. The survivability at 1,800 hit points is definitely not amazing for a Tier 9 heavy tank, but also not awful as well. I thought that maybe Wargaming were going to try and balance these vehicles out by giving them weaker armor or reducing their hit points, but that doesn't really seem to be the case. 130mm of frontal hull armor, 90 at the side and 60 at the rear. Things pretty much going to have IS-3 hull armor. It's definitely not going to be fantastic, but the turret at 250 at the front, 150 at the side, and 130 at the rear will still be able to pull off some bounces, but we'll have to see if it has the big old overmatch on top of the tank. Now, the view range for this tank is surprising. It says 380 meters here, but when I take a look at Wargaming's notes on the tank, they say the IS-3-2's view range is 360. Once again, everything is subject to change, but that will make a big difference. If the tank has 360 meters view range, you're definitely going to want to have to use coated optics or even binoculars on this vehicle to spot at decent distances. However, if the view range is 380, you can definitely get away with coated optics with a decent crew. Anyway, what do I think all in all about the IS-3-2? Yeah, it looks like it's a fairly impressive tank. Not bad damage per minute, good gun depression, good turret armor. Not the fastest thing, but by no means the slowest. I think it will do very well on a ridgeline for a Soviet heavy tank. And considering this vehicle has all the benefits of having an auto reloader, but also able to deliver a 780 alpha damage double punch, albeit after a 3-second delay, yeah, I think this thing will do very well indeed. Do I think that the statistics of this tank make it look like it's going to be completely outrageously overpowered? Wow, I don't really want to make that statement yet. I'd really have to get my hands on this tank. but my initial impressions are looking like Wargaming have done a pretty good job of balancing it. One thing that I should mention, however, is this thing has a double loader, as we can see from the crew down there. So if you're trying to prepare a crew for the IS-32, then definitely get yourself a double loader. But anyway, I know that a lot of you are here to see the Tier 10 tank, and that's probably why you're going to be grinding through the IS-32, right? So let's take a look at the statistics for the ST2. All right, so an alpha damage increase to 440. This is very likely to still be 122mm main armament, so you're obviously still going to be able to overmatch 40mm plates because of the 3 caliber rule. The penetration has now gone up to a full-blooded tier 10 level, 258 on its standard rounds and 340mm of heat penetration, as we can see there, is rather nice. And the tank has the same high explosive rounds, 680mm of pen with 530 alpha damage, which will be nice for taking out weakly armored targets. So this 440 obviously means that now you're going to be able to deal 880 damage on average, because of course the shells could roll as high as 1,000 or could roll low as 700. Man, double the RNG, is that what you're looking forward to with double barreled tanks? Meaning this thing will pack a punch if of course you're able to deliver that second shot. So let's talk about the damage per minute of the vehicle. Looks like it's pretty much the same as the previous tank, maybe just a little bit higher. So let's take 60 divided by 11.7, and then we'll times it by 440. 2,256, yeah, it's not great, it's not bad. It's a decent damage per minute for an auto-reloading double-barreled tank at tier 10, that's for sure, when something like a Progetto has substantially less than that. And you've got to remember that the ST2 doesn't even lose damage per minute if it's firing deeper into its, albeit small, magazine. Alright, so the time for preparing a single shot on the ST2 is lower than on the IS-32. It's 2.5 seconds. That's definitely going to make a difference. Think about the difference between unloading in the old Kranvang and unloading in the new AMX-50, or even the difference between unloading in something like the Progetto 65 or the Standard B, or even the 5120 and going up to the AMX-50B. Intra-clip reload makes a huge difference, and while this is preparation for a single shot and it's a new mechanic, I'm just trying to give you guys the idea of what the difference might be stepping up from tier 9 to tier 10. 2.5 seconds, every half second counts in these scenarios, and that might be the half second you need to be able to get the ambush on your opponent before they readjust their armor, or just be able to stop your ambush altogether, or cross that gap while you've been preparing the shot. So the gun changing time on this tank is also better than it was on the IS-3. It's now 3 seconds, so that's effectively the intra-clip reload from an auto-loader or an auto-reloader perspective. And the reloading lockout time is also now down to 5 seconds as well, so that's substantially less than on the IS-32. So that means that you're only effectively losing 7.5 seconds of reloading if you choose to double shot this tank. Consequently, I expect the ST2 will be a lot more friendly for players who want to make use of the double shot feature more often. Sure, you're still going to lower your overall damage per minute of the tank, but if that allows you to finish off the vehicle that's in front of you, I don't think you're really going to care. Accuracy-wise, the vehicle is still a lowly 0.4, so this thing is definitely not for sniping at long range, and the aim time is barely any better at 2.9 seconds. The turret traverse speed on this tank, however, is now down to 16 degrees a second, so that should allow you to outmaneuver it in a close quarters combat, but 8 degrees of gun depression on the ST2 will be fantastic for the tank to be able to work ridge lines, or alternatively to shoot down on weak points of the enemy tank in close quarters combat. The ammo capacity of this vehicle is now down to 40, so I guess that means that we're going to have instead 17,600 potential damage. That's a much more reasonable number, but that's enough to take a variety of rounds depending on what situation you need to be able to get through your opponent. So the top speed limit of this vehicle, 40 forwards faster in a straight line than the IS-3, 2, but backwards at 13 kilometers an hour. It's a little bit more limiting. The mouse and the E100 go faster backwards in this tank, and it's definitely something that holds back the super heavy vehicles. And yes, I am calling this tank a super heavy vehicle because it has 2,500 hit points and a good slug of armor. 150 at the front, 140 at the side, 100 at the rear. This thing pretty much looks like it's ST1 armor or IS-4 armor with a double barrel. The 250mm of frontal turret armor with 160mm of side and rear turret armor as well should be decent indeed. And the view range of this vehicle looks like it's now up to 390 from either 360 or 380, and so you'll definitely be able to spot for yourself at decent distances. And a final mention should be made to the fact that this tank's crew also has a double loader, so transition those two loaders from the IS-32 up to the ST-2, and you'll have yourself a decent, skilled crew. So all in all, what do I think about the statistics of the ST-2? I think, again, it looks pretty darn balanced to me. This is pretty much an IS-4 that goes slightly slower forwards, slightly slower backwards, has slightly worse armor overall, less view range, has worse accuracy, but of course has access to a double barrel shot. And I don't know if that's going to be enough. Do you think that's going to be enough? This tank is just an IS-4 that's probably about a couple of % worse statistically, but has a double barrel feature. But again, if you choose to use that double barrel feature and you get that preparation time of 2.5 seconds followed by a 5-second reload lockout, I wonder if that's going to be enough to keep the tank competitive in what is a very difficult tier 10 state of the game right now. Combine this with what looks like an awful cupola on top of the vehicle, a very flat, big weak point, and at least for now, I think Wargaming are definitely being conservative with the statistics of these tanks, and I do expect to turn them up just a little bit, unless, of course, the fact that you can fire 2 barrels just changes the tank's capacity massively. And to all intents and purposes, we need to consider that combining the 440 to have 880 alpha damage on a tier 10 tank, that's good, right? But is 880 really that much better than something like an E100 or a 60 TP with its 750 alpha damage and access to better high explosive rounds? At least until I get my hands on the tank, it's hard to say right now. My overall gut instinct is that Wargaming seem to be doing some pretty darn good fine-tuning with the statistics of this vehicle, and while they say that everything is not final, I feel like they're in a very good position to go into the game as is. And thankfully, if things stay as they are, it doesn't look like these vehicles are going to be the game-destroying, meta-changing monsters that a lot of people were fearing they could be. And then now, ladies and gents, something that I had no idea would happen for the double-barreled vehicles. Check this out.
Double-barreled vehicles have another peculiar feature. We didn't show it in the first video, but it's now time to show you some exclusive content. After the double shot, the vehicle rolls back a little.
It rolls backwards.
Car stealer game. You surely remember that if you turn the turret 180 degrees, get some speed, and take a shot, this will happen.
I mean, it makes perfect sense from a momentum perspective. We've been joking about it for years, the idea of turning your turret around and firing your meaty gun backwards and then propelling your tank forwards, right? Oh my lord, are you actually kidding me? What is this? A double-barreled boost tank? We just got to watch that again. Let's just watch that again. So, this is just ludicrous. Ludicrous. Look at it. Look at it. When they fire. I think actually that looked like quite a lot of speed gain. I've got to test this out, whether this is going to happen. But, I mean, it'd be very interesting. If you fire the double shot, maybe you can shunt somebody who's behind you backwards. Maybe you can even ram somebody to death who's behind you with a little bit of that. There's going to be so many different awesome things that can come from these vehicles. I'm getting even more excited about them every time we find out new things that I had no idea was going to happen. And so, I'm thrilled that I caught this one. Otherwise, my video would have been pretty much irrelevant an hour after I released it. If you want to go and see Wargaming's full developer diaries, go and check them out on their YouTube channel. And if there are any new developments about double barrel vehicles, then stay tuned to my channel, as I will be definitely keeping you updated. And I just can't wait till I can get my hands on one for some gameplay. And so, in conclusion, double barrel tanks are definitely coming. I would be very surprised if they weren't here in time for Christmas. In fact, I believe this is probably going to be Wargaming's big Christmas content. And I'm thankful for it. Wargaming quite often miss the holiday season, which is so darn important for World of Tanks, as so many people come back to play this game. So many people have more time to play the game and they want to have interesting things to do with it. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this helping of double-barreled tanks. If you did, give the video a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give the video a thumbs down. And let me know what you think about the statistics of the ST-2 and also for the IS-32. Do you think the tank looks plausible? Do you think it looks balanced? Do you think it looks like it's going to be horrifically underpowered or horrifically overpowered? And now that you've had a good look at the design of the vehicle and have an idea of its tech tree placement, are these things that interest you? And as always, it's Friday. Have a lovely weekend, whatever you choose to get up to. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you soon.